Have you ever had one of those moments where someone tells you something and your stomach just drops? That's exactly what happened to us. We had finally started building a life together. Then, one meeting with our accountant changed everything. What happened over the next 16 months would shape the way we viewed money, business, and life forever. Episode 2: The IRS Debt That Changed Everything. One of the things you'll probably notice as we tell our story is that there were moments that completely changed the direction of our lives. Some of those moments were exciting, some were terrifying. This one was definitely terrifying. If you watched the first episode, you know that Adita and I had just started building a life together. So at this point in our relationship, we were hopeful. We had plans, we had dreams, and ultimately we knew we wanted to build a strong marriage or a strong relationship. We wanted to be able to spend more time with our family, with our children. We wanted to travel together and create businesses that gave us freedom instead of taking us away from the people we loved. But what we didn't know was that just a few short months into our relationship, we didn't know that we'd be sitting across from our accountant in our accountant's office, hearing news that would completely change the next 16 months of our lives. I still remember this like it was yesterday. I still remember sitting there. Our accountant began explaining that because of the way I had been paying myself and another individual through my business, I had made some mistakes. I had created a significant tax liability. Now, I want to be clear about something. Nothing here that I did was illegal. Nothing illegal had happened. No one was trying to purposely avoid paying taxes. But the reality was, I made mistakes. I made mistakes in how the business was structured. I made mistakes on how the money was being handled. And those mistakes had consequences. Those mistakes came at a cost. As he explained everything, I still remember my stomach sinking. So many questions went through my mind. My mind immediately went to questions like, what is Adita going to think? I did all this before her and I met. I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I'm bringing this kind of pressure into our new relationship. How much is this going to cost? How are we going to pay for it? What does this mean for our future? When you're building a business, if you're a business owner, no matter how big or small your business is, you know you carry a lot of pressure already as it is. So adding something like this on top of it feels completely overwhelming. Looking back now, I realize I had a choice. I can blame someone else, I can get angry, I can make excuses, or I can take responsibility. And that was a decision that I made. That was a decision that we made, Adita and I. It wasn't the easiest decision. I can tell sitting there that it wasn't going to be easy, but it was the right one. And her and I believed on always making the right decision, even when it was hard. We worked with our accountant and we entered into a payment plan with the IRS. There wasn't some sort of magical solution. There wasn't some sort of shortcut. There wasn't anyone coming to rescue us. If we wanted to move forward, we had to pay for it. And that's exactly what we did. For the next 16 months, roughly two-thirds of my income went towards paying that debt. Think about that for a second. Imagine working incredibly hard every single day, every single week, knowing that most of what you earn wasn't going towards your future. It was going towards fixing a problem from the past. That was definitely hard for me at that time, and I can imagine how Adita felt as we just entered into our relationship. During that season, though, we were living primarily off of Adita's income. So, whatever she made from the mental health agency and roughly one third of my income was what we lived off of. So at that time, that definitely meant saying no to a lot of things. We watched every dollar, we postponed purchases, and we made sacrifices. We sacrificed over and over again. On top of it all, the pest control business wasn't doing great either because my focus wasn't really where it needed to be. When you're carrying that kind of stress, it's difficult to lead with confidence. So naturally, we had lost customers and some of our revenue had slowed down. Some days it honestly felt like we were just trying to keep our heads above water. If you watched the first episode, you already know that I call my wife Sweets or my Sweets. This is one of the reasons why. Throughout all of this, I remember thinking she never made me feel like I had failed. She didn't complain. She didn't criticize me. She didn't put me down or degrade me. She didn't make me feel ashamed. Instead, she stood beside me. She believed we'd get through it, and she was able to stay calm when I wasn't able to stay calm. She reminded me that this was a season and that the season was temporary. Looking back, I think this is where our partnership was truly forged. It's not during the easy moments, but during the difficult ones. Anyone, anyone, no matter what relationship, can enjoy the success together, the easy street. But real partnerships are built during adversity. People sometimes ask us, or what was the biggest lesson that we've learned from that season? And honestly, there were so many of them. There were a lot of them. We learned to respect cash flow. We learned the importance of understanding taxes as a business owner. We learned that delayed gratification is powerful. We learned to build financial margin instead of living on the edge. And most importantly, we learned that mistakes don't mean that or define your future and don't mean that everything stops and you have completely failed. It's how you take those mistakes and what you do with them, how you learn from them, how you respond to those mistakes. I wouldn't wish that season on anyone, though. It was definitely stressful, but I wouldn't erase it either for us because everything that came after was definitely built on the discipline that we had learned during those 16 months of our lives. I still remember to this day, and I'm sure Adita does as well, making that last payment. There wasn't some sort of huge celebration. There wasn't fireworks. We didn't go and buy something expensive, but we felt something much more valuable, and that was relief. The relief that came with paying that last payment was incredible. The hope, the confidence, everything that came with it. For the first time, we truly believed if we could get through this, then maybe we can build a life we'd always dreamed about. We didn't know exactly how, but we knew we were capable of doing hard things together as a couple. What's interesting is that while all this was happening, while all the chaos, all the overwhelming stress was happening, Adita made one of the biggest decisions of her professional life. She decided to leave the security of her agency job and start her own private practice. At that time, I was beginning to hire my first employees. Neither of us realized it then, but those two decisions would completely change the future of our family and our future together. We'll pick up there in episode 3. I can't wait to explain what happened next. If you've ever made a financial mistake, if you've ever felt overwhelmed, if you've ever wondered whether things could actually get better, I hope that our story reminds you that they can. Sometimes your greatest setbacks become the foundation for your greatest comeback. Now, I know that sounds like a cliche and it sounds robotic, but the truth is, I lived it and I can testify. I'm not saying that bragging, but I hope that it gives you hope. Thank you for spending just a little bit of time with us today. If you're enjoying our series so far, I'd love for you to subscribe and follow our journey. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. What's one difficult season that ended up teaching you something that you'll never forget? I'll see you next time in the next episode. Thank you again for watching Our Sweet Success.